What happened?
Call her daddy has just signed a big contract with SiriusXM.
How much was the contract for?
125 M's.
Oh my God.
They tried to say the podcast boom was dead, but
It's definitely not. It's here.
It is dead in a way of companies aren't going to keep doing this the same way. But I think Sirius is a little different because I have a little theory about what's going on with this. I think Sirius is about to be put in a position where the flaws that they may have done in the past, they're going to be, get an opportunity to change that back around. So if y'all remember, like if y'all younger don't remember, Sirius came out like in the early 2000s, and then they eventually merged with another company like almost a decade later. But they were one of the first internet satellite radio people. So you could go in, purchase like the satellite radio or whatever. Like my parents, they got it grandfathered in where my mom has it in one of her cars, but she don't have to pay for it because it kind of came with her car. So that's how big it was. They were trying to get everybody to get into it.
It would be like a selling point to your car if it came with Sirius.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah.
And especially when they wasn't having a subscription. Because at first they didn't have that. You just pay for it like by the year or whatever.
You would have to go get a separate radio that like gets it.
Yeah,
that shit was crazy.
Now it's no, you don't, because they could have put it into your radio too.
Okay, but I remember like in the
it
older cars, if you had an older car and you wanted it, like you had to go get a replacement stereo that had Sirius XM.
So then once they started being able to bring that opportunity, because like my parents still listen to Sirius, my dad has it in his truck now, but once they kind of brought that in, they put a lot of their bones behind Howard Stern. The thing was they were set up so well for the future because they kind of predicted the internet. Where they messed up was they sided with someone who was going to be stuck in the past, and they didn't know that. Howard Stern probably was one of the worst deals, if we're being honest. Like I'm just saying, if we're being honest in regards to hitching your wagon to somebody who was going to make sure you are like indebted to them, that's what he did. That's essentially what he did. He basically had it to the fact where the Sirius model needed the Howard Stern show. He was going to be pretty much pushing out all the content to the point now he only works like 6 months out the year.
How did he do that?
Because he was so big. He was so big beforehand. I feel like on terrestrial radio.
That's the only person that I thought it was just him on SiriusXM.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, it's like G Unit radios on there. There's like a bunch of other places that's on there. There's probably like 4 or 5 from what I can remember, it could be more. But it was like 4 or 5 hip hop stations, and then they got like comedy stations and all sorts of different stuff. But he was the selling point. That's who they hitched their wagon to, was Howard Stern is going to be our guy. But the thing was he didn't embrace the internet. Howard Stern doesn't like to have his clips online. He doesn't like to have his old stuff, be repurposed. But it's because
he was doing wild shit.
Yeah. He was a racist homophobe, and he was making fun of people with disabilities and all sorts of crazy stuff.
He was fully having bitches come on there and squirt.
And they was doing getting naked. He was being a pervert on the show.
Like,
a ton. What? So, and that's the thing I hate. I hate about these guys like that, because it's him. You got Star. He had his situation too, where it's like y'all do all this stuff in the past, get all this notoriety, and then y'all try to wash it off by hiding it, and then at the same token get mad when people bring it up. So like if you were to find some old clips or footage of Howard Stern and post it, they'll try to pull it off so fast. And so it's cool that y'all do that, but at the same token,
crazy.
You took a company that was probably like, if we think about, if you really do the speculation and do the guesstimation, if you want to, about where Sirius could have been, they could have been where Spotify and all that shit is.
They should have been.
They should have been able to get all of that.
Like, as far as music and like they should have been that.
But because they, like I said, Howard really held them back.
All of the podcasts and all of the things should have been housed there. So
another reason why I feel like something's going on too is Warren Buffett has invested a lot of money to the point where now his investment company, owns 3% of Sirius. Like, he just put a whole bunch of money into it. And
my thought is, how big is 3% in the grand scheme of things?
That's a lot.
Is it?
When you have a company that's public that people can buy, yeah, that's a lot. When you own 3% of a stock,
okay,
that's a lot, because a lot of times that doesn't happen where you buying that many shares of anything like that.
Okay,
and for it to be like I said, this stock hasn't been profitable for years. Like, it was $30 like when it first came out and went up and down, and it's $3 now.
$3
and 30 cents.
Oh my! How much of it did he need to buy for 3%? Like,
I mean, he put like a couple. I'll show you. It was a document came out that showed a lot of places that he pulled out of, and a lot of places that he's putting money into. What I think is this: I think we're coming into, and this is my theory. I think this is going to happen with Trump or Kamala, but we're going to a nationalization of our media, where we're going to be more focused on media coming in from America, like the whole TikTok thing. The fact that they don't want companies based out in other countries to be able to have our data and stuff. The thing I looked at when I was looking up Sirius is
I always thought that was more about censorship than data, but
it's going to come into censorship too. But the data is also part of it. But what I was just looking at is they're owned by a company that's based out in Colorado. Like it's like Highlight Media or something like that. That's who kind of owns everything in regards to Sirius. They're based out in Colorado. So what I could just be seeing is we're going to be having companies either have to pay like a big fine, or not fine, but a tax or tariff or whatever. Not even tariff because it's not trade, but basically to do business in media, there's going to be like additional tax onto them.
Yeah.
Because you're based out in another country. So like the Spotifys that are overseas, Apple will still be good. But like basically any company that's going to try to come in from the outside, I can see them being a push. There's like, no, we're not going to allow that. Or if you do, it's going to be more taxes on it. So to team up with a company who's American based and is prime because they've had all this technology, they've had just been sitting there not being able to really take that next step because it's been revenue. People listen to it, but it's not where people, it should have been a YouTube. It should have been one of those kind of factories of information.
Because it was out before YouTube.
Yeah, but they was doing subscriptions and stuff. So that's another thing that messed it up too. They didn't have a free option. They should have had a free option. And then you just have more content if you subscribed or you got ads.
It was like a luxury.
Yeah. Or they should have took away ads and stuff like that. Because even when you bought that was the thing they were trying to say, oh, it's going to be less ads. But you go listen to it now. It's full of ads. So it give you ads about Sirius.
Like I'm already here.
Yeah, that's what I was so like. I was sitting there listening to my dad. I'm like, why do they have a Sirius ad on Sirius radio?
When you can only listen to Sirius if you already pay for Sirius.
It was so crazy. I didn't understand that at all. But no, like I said, the company has been running into a way that they shouldn't have because they were the future. And I think right now it's a promising opportunity, and that's what Warren Buffett is looking at. And I think that it could be scary because I think that censorship plays a part. They're tired of us seeing these kids being hurt, being wars all over because it's making people react. It's making people find a common thread, just like they did with the Vietnam War and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they want that anymore. I don't think they feel that how dangerous that is. That is probably the closest thing we have to revolting.
There's just so many.
Because we all agree on it.
There's so many different social media platforms and ways that you can get that. Like, how are you going to stop the niggas on 4chan?
Yeah, but I think the thing about 4chan.
And Reddit, like it works its way up.
Yeah, but I think that comes to my other little theory. So remember them billionaires that died on a boat? So I was watching the dude, I think his name's Ian or whatever, but he does the breakdown of the money and all that stuff. He was saying that they owned a company that they sold to HP that essentially did like a surveillance or monitoring that could take into account audio, video, all sorts of stuff. Like even if you kind of just did some funny shit to it, it could still locate and find those audios and videos. So I can imagine being where this is now because they was in a whole dispute with HP in a lawsuit in 2 different countries, I believe. And they won both of them. That's what they were celebrating, their win. What I think that could be happening is that technology could have developed to the point now where if you put a video, it's automatically going to come off. We pulling it as soon as the outline and we see that. So as soon as that 12-second mark hit, boom, it's already off. Nobody's even seeing it. Nobody's getting a chance to screen record it or anything. And I think that's the next.
I just feel like that gets touchy with freedom of just, I don't know.
What it's going to make you do, what it's going to make you do is you're going to have to then alter the media. So now everything looks fake. Now if I have to alter it to put it on the site and tell you that now it looks phony. Now it looks because I had to do things to it. That's where all the plan is. The plan is to make everything look fake, confuse everything, and control as much as what we're looking at. Because the algorithm does that now.
Yeah, everything is gonna eventually come to light though. It's gonna take longer like it used to, but like people are still gonna find out about atrocities that are happening across the globe eventually.
Even then though, it's just gonna take, but again, just imagine how long it takes now. Just the whole thing with Israel and Palestine, then the Congo came up on people's radar. But that was been happening. That been happening longer.
It's just
at least in
what
your
radar
sense.
is, because I knew about the Congo before I knew about Palestine.
Yeah, but I mean, it was more aggressive in Congo as of recent than it had been, before the October 7th and all that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, folks wasn't paying attention. Sudan, a whole bunch of places is going through crazy shit. Oh, it's going through crazy shit. And then just to go back to the Call Your Daddy and talking about the algorithm, I don't know nobody that watches that show.
I've never seen. Okay,
for her to be that big.
The only Call Her Daddy episode I've seen was I think she interviewed some Love Island people, and I don't even know if that was Call Her Daddy for real. But like, yeah, it's never come across my algorithms. It might have, and I just didn't know that it was her or them.
The only one I ever saw was Cole Sprouse.
Is it one or two people?
It's one now. It used to be two, but she kicked her off and she signed with $60 million for Spotify.
Girl, you should have stayed with that.
It was some like internal drama going on. Like one girl was doing more than the other one, and that's why she was just like, "Man, fuck you, bitch. I'll get out of here."
Okay, yeah.
That's what it kind of was. It was kind of like how Mandy and Bridget broke up. But I think, okay, so there's some people that have to be mad about this deal in retrospect. Obviously, horrible decisions, because it just kind of shows the difference between white women talking about sex and black women talking about sex.
Is there a podcast about sex?
Horrible Decisions? Yeah.
No, Call Her Daddy.
Well, it was initially.
Okay.
When it started, it was them talking about them doing, sexual stuff out in the town, kind of conversations when it first started.
Okay.
And then it turned into more of an interview base and stuff like that. So the last time I saw it,
that's what
Cole
I've been
Sprouse
seeing.
was on there.
It's kind of just like an interview thing.
From Zach and Cody. I watched his interview.
Mm-hmm.
So,
why?
Because he was smoking. He had a little cigarette inside indoors. I thought that was pretty fly.
Like, what?
Smoking a cigarette in the interview, that if you want to catch my eye, that's one way to do it.
That's crazy.